Hi everybody and welcome back to our chronological trawl through all the James Bond films. And it gives me absolutely no pleasure today to be looking at this monstrosity, 1967's Casino Royale. Never to be confused with the Martin Campbell directed masterpiece that is Daniel Craig's 007 debut. This is an unofficial Bond film, and I'm going to put it into context. It was meant as a spoof. This is a funny James Bond spoof. Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. This isn't. This is a half-watchable, what's it got its faults, non-Eon Bond film. This isn't. This isn't the greatest James Bond film. This isn't even a good film. This is supposed to be a comedy. This is a funny comedy and a funny movie, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. This is not at all funny. The background to it, the Ian Fleming novel of Casino Royale was released in 1953, and Fleming sold the rights to make a television special to CBS, which became the 1955 live television adaptation as part of the climax series of Casino Royale, starring Barry Nelson as James Bond. And Barry Nelson's probably more famous to moviegoers as Stuart Ullman from The Shining.
Wasn't my autograph either.
Well, you have our assurance. Casino police will be at your disposal whenever you feel you need protection.
Thanks. That's very comforting. Look, would you give me some chips?
Why, certainly, Mr. Bond.
In March 1955, Fleming sold the film rights of Casino Royale to the producer Gregory Ratoff. Ratoff died, and Charles K. Feldman, who represented Ratoff's widow, ended up obtaining the rights to make a film version. So he had Charles Feldman, completely separate from Eon, holding the rights to make a film of Casino Royale. So Charles Feldman was stuck with the rights, and he tried to do a deal with Broccoli and Saltzman, but couldn't agree any money, and he went, right, sod it, I'm going to make a spoof. Is it bad? It's really bad. It's shocking. It's bizarre because they threw money at this. The budget for it was $12 million. It made $41 million at the box office. The budget for You Only Live Twice was less. It was $2 million less. It was $9 million. But You Only Live Twice made $111 million at the box office. So $11 million on this. It is an exercise in self-indulgence. The cast: Peter Sellers, Ursula Andress in her own voice. She's not dubbed in this like she was in Doctor No. David Niven, the late great David Niven. Orson Welles, Woody Allen, Deborah Kerr, William Holden, Terence Cooper, John Huston, George Raft. Wow, what a cast. But oh dear. It's got 5 directors: John Huston, Ken Hughes, Val Guest, Robert Parrish and Joe McGrath. So you might think it's an anthology sort of film. It isn't. It's just a mess. It's a mess. John Huston was even in it as M. Do you think John Huston as M and directing it? A retired James Bond played by David Niven? That sounds all right. No, it isn't. The production was so weird. John Huston, for the scene that had been in, the grouse shooting. They're shooting some kind of bird and some horrible hunting activity. And he insisted they did it in Ireland. But that type of bird doesn't exist in Ireland, so they had to go to Ireland, film some scenes and decamp back to the UK to film the bird scenes. Yes, it's a real dog's dinner. Now, Peter Sellers wanted to play it straight, and they did try and get Connery. Connery declined. There's virtually no story through this. Tom Mankiewicz, the Bond screenwriter, was approached and he said, no, in respect to Eon Productions, I ain't doing it. So probably knew which side, knew where his bread was buttered. So it's good. So we had a bit of loyalty. So Connery wouldn't do it. So they got Peter Sellers, and Sellers decided to play it straight. And he generally does, apart from some wacky scenes that are not funny. They are not funny. So it's just an odd film. There's no story. Now, David Niven and Ursula Andress, I believe, come back after the production to film some linking scenes to try and make some kind of story. It doesn't. The vague story is James Bond has retired, and the real James Bond in the films he doesn't agree with. And so they decide to give lots of agents, all the agents, the name of James Bond to try and confuse the villain. And it's just rubbish. It really is. It's plagued with problems. But it's, how ridiculous it is. They were supposed to have an elephant scene in it. And they made Ursula Andress a rather nice elephant boy, like a circus outfit. But they couldn't afford the elephants. But she says, I like that, I'm still going to wear it. So you've got Ursula Andress in the film wearing an elephant, like a circus costume. Weird. It is weird. Don't forget, these are psychedelic times. But it's just a mess. It is a real mess. The girls look great in it. The sets, you can tell where the money was spent on the sets. They look pretty good. But it's just so incoherent. Peter Sellers vanished. He just walked off set one day. Peter O'Toole's in it because he was passing by and did it for a crate of champagne as a cameo, as it himself.
Are you Richard Burton?
No, I'm Peter O'Toole.
Then you're the finest man that ever breathed.
Orson Welles insisted he did a magic act in it. So it's got Orson Welles doing magic in it. Peter Sellers resented Orson Welles that much. Seemingly Princess Margaret visited the set, who knew Peter Sellers and went straight to Orson Welles and ignored Sellers, which damaged Sellers' ego. So they never actually, whilst around the casino table, they're talking to each other, Sellers refused to act with Orson Welles. It's that bad.
When you're quite ready.
For my next experiment, I require the use of a perfectly ordinary gentleman's pocket handkerchief.
From the pocket of one perfectly ordinary gentleman.
That's the kind of remark that leads to war. How much better for all humanity if all the nations could learn to live together in peace.
Woody Allen's in it. Now, I will confess, I have never found Woody Allen remotely funny. I think he's a really unfunny, annoying little bloke.
Could I have a last cigarette? I'm going to give it up any day now. Thank you.
It's a mess. It's a mess. Poor David Niven. David Niven tries his best. For some reason, they give him a stammer. But Niven's Niven. I'm a David Niven fan. He's great in whatever he does, and he does his best. And you can tell watching it back. If you can sit through this, I think I've struggled to sit through it, to be honest. And you can tell where they've inserted extra scenes just to try and link this god awful, 5 directors with no story. George Raft, and I think it's John Paul Belmondo of quite top billing. They're in it for seconds. Weird. It's just weird. And at the end, the casino scene descends into a pie slinging activity, slapstick comedy. Not even comedy done well. There's one funny bit in it, and that's the beginning where Mathis goes to a French outdoor toilet and says, "Can I see your credentials?" And you assume that Mathis exposes himself to James Bond. That's the only part I find remotely funny in this comedy.
These are my credentials.
They appear to be in order.
Come with me.
It's a film not bad. I paid £5.99, sorry, £4.99 for this back in the day. I bought it in 1993 and I regret buying it. I bought it for completion's sake. What a mug. Never upgraded to DVD and definitely never upgraded to Blu-ray. I've sat through it all the way once. I've tried to understand the film. I just hate the film. I really do. I really do. The special effects are woeful. The sets are lovely. The special effects are woeful. So as all our James Bond adventures, we're going to rank the film. And out of 7 007s, the mission, the story, I give 0. There is no story. This film is completely incoherent. It's a mess. Spectacle is how the film, the action, special effects look. Again, I'm going to give it 0. The sets obviously cost a lot of money. How they're used is just a mess. There's a flying saucer. It's rubbish. There's flying pigeons. It looks awful. So all the optical effects shots, okay, it's 1967 and you could compare it to the cheaper You Only Live Twice, and You Only Live Twice has 4 superior special effects. They're flawed as well, but this is just such a horrible, horrible looking film. There's psychedelic cut shots, and don't forget 1967, you get into that era of wow, what flower power. And I think it tries to fall into that. I wasn't around at the time, so I've no reference points, but it just looks ugly. It really does look an ugly film. The film's only redeeming feature is the music, and I'm going to give that 5 out of 7. The music is mildly enjoyable. Burt Bacharach writes the music, and he does a damn good job. And the film, the music actually fits a comedy, even though this film's not funny. The opening title music is played by Herb Alpert, and it's great. It's a great theme, and the music to it's very enjoyable. What is the jewel in the crown? The best thing about this film, the only reason for me to watch it is the song "The Look of Love." Forget the scene it's in when it's played. The scene's rubbish. It's some love scene with sailors. But it's got "The Look of Love" by Dusty Springfield, which is the late great Dusty Springfield, which is an amazing song, and rightfully would have made a damn good Eon Bond theme tune. So the music is the only slight bit of enjoyment that I get out of this absolute dog's dinner of a film. I would not recommend anybody watching this. This video, yeah, it's in 4:3. It looks all right. Who's bothered? Who's actually bothered about the film? It's that bad. If you do like it, if you're a fan of this film, I'd love to hear from you. And please put your comments below. I'm fascinated if anybody enjoys this film, because I just find it absolutely unwatchable. Thankfully, our next Tales of the Tape for Bond, we're going back to Eon films, and it is You Only Live Twice, which was released after Casino Royale, so chronologically is the next Eon Bond film, which ironically is the film that spawned 1,000 spoofs. Dr. Evil.